Yo, what's good, y'all? Kabeh here again to do another sample breakdown. I think we are on episode 7, I'm pretty sure. And today we're gonna break down this sample. I made this yesterday, yesterday night, and I really like it, so I figure I will breaking it down here. Just a disclaimer, I don't know why, but when I open up the project again, a couple of the plugins were blank, like this EQ and the shaper box. So what you're gonna hear here, it's not the final product, but it's pretty close. So yeah, before we actually start breaking it down, let's hear it in full so we know what we're working with. So let's do it. Nice. So let's start breaking this down. As y'all can hear, this starts in a completely different way than it goes in a completely different path. So at first I started with my boy Ninetyniiine. This started that he sent me, and I was gonna build something on top of this. So this is what he sent me. Which is already so good, and I was gonna build on top of this. And actually, after I heard this, I started messing around with my synth here, the mini root. So I came up with this simply to go on top of it. It's a pretty simple patch, and I remember that I was looping this, trying to lay down a bass line, lay down any other thing, and I didn't have any ideas for it, to be honest. So I figure it will be a pretty cool idea to go a completely different path, like begin with this vibe and these chords and just go somewhere else. I think that would be really nice. So at that point, I put up the Juno VST from Arturia, and I know this is in E minor, so I started just playing around chords in E minor, and I came up with this. Actually, this. completely different chords, completely different progression, and I really like it. So after I laid this down, I knew that I wanted to like go into this synth heavy, the weekend type sound. So I started looking for arpeggiators, and this is on the Juno. And on top of the chords, after I got this down, I pulled up Serum and just laid down this bass sound. And by the way, I have the MIDI here for the chords. These are the chords of the progression. Pretty simple chords. Nothing too complicated, not too much extensions to it. So I was just messing around and I find those, and I think the melancholic feel of them, I don't know, I think the contrast with the beginning, I think is really cool. So I put up Serum and played this bass line. And on top of the chords and the arpeggio. At this point, I knew that I had a pretty solid idea. So I just pulled up Analog Lab and started going through sounds until I found this strings type sound. This is what I called it. Let me put it on top of the bass. And this is just a simple jump in octaves. At this point, when I laid this down, I knew I was having my ideas as I went, as I go. So I knew that I wanted to do like this build up type of thing. These strings, they call for that. So, and I was pretty excited at that point. So I remember that I just pulled up my phone and started recording like randomly, without having any idea of what I would come up with. And the second preset that I go through and the first thing that I play is this lead sound. As I said, this is the second preset that I go through. The first thing that I played, I actually recorded it on my phone, so I'm gonna play now the original recording for this. And yeah, after I laid this down, I wanted to keep building onto that idea of this big, huge thing just, happening. I didn't know where I wanted to go to after this point, but I was gonna figure that out later. So I found this big chords on the Juno, I believe. I'm not sure, but this chords. these are the same chords, just a couple inversions to keep it interesting, to build a melody inside of the chord progression. I don't know exactly. The Jupiter. Yeah, I have it written down here. That's what I'm gonna say. It didn't sound like the Juno, but yeah, I found this on the Jupiter. And after that point, I had pretty much everything. This brown part is just the same arpeggio, just an octave down. I play around with octaves a lot. If you see my videos, you see that I use the same sounds in different octaves all the time. So, if you know me, I love vocal chops. So I knew that I wanted to add a vocal in this, just for some texture. So I found this vocal. And on top of it, on top of everything, this is how it sounds. I had to figure out also a transition thing, so I pulled up this just to help with the transition from the intro. One thing that helped too with the intro, and I do this a lot, is this automation. So this ARPs coming in. So for me to not have this completely different thing, chords, vibes, progression, everything completely different from the intro, I introduced this ARP before it in the background with a filter that just opens up. So this is how it sounds. And when it gets to that point, I just drop the filter off. So, and this is how the filter progresses. So you are already hearing before the transition a part of what is gonna come, but you don't expect it. So I didn't know where I wanted to go after this big crescendo thing. So I figured out it would be a nice idea to go back to that first thing, the first progression that Ninetyniine had. So what I did is that I put up the stems for this, and I put up the main chords thing. And I had the bass separate. And what I did, and I actually did this by mistake, was to change this bass embellishments and passing notes that he had. I changed the order of them, so this is different from the first part. So, and here it sounds different. And I did this by mistake at first, and it ended up sounding really nice because it's different from the intro track. So after I had this, I put up the same mini brute lead and some vocals just to add more to it, to sound like a bigger hook. So I pulled up these. And for this to not be just some vocals here without no like cohesive idea, I brought in the same vocal idea, the verse part of it. So and I bring this in before the actual transition happened. And this is basically it for the sample. So mixing wise, as I said, I don't know why a couple of the plugins just bugged out, but I don't have nothing on the bass. These vocals, I had the Vox Chain 3 from my Soundcube with Noble Nirvana. I added a couple of things, that's more here, just to play with the sample rate of it. Same thing here, that's more. There's nothing here, nothing here. EQ, that's more. R compressor, doubler, microchip, shaper box, Echo Boy Jr. and Cleverb or Cleverb. I've been using this a lot recently. This Juno chords, just an EQ, and microshift. Jupiter chords, Transient Master, just to bring more of that attack on the chords. So this is what Transient Master does if I bring up the attack or bring down. So I just wanted to make it punch a little more. EQ, it's blank for some reason, but it's probably just cutting out the lows, like doing this, probably. Echo Boy Jr., Cleverb. The ARP thing, there's obviously the one-up filter. I do the same trick, I do it right here with these chords. And now to transition it a little better. So I had this one-up filter here for this transition thing. EQ, shaper box, Echo Boy, and Cleverb. The lead and the strings, simple things. EQ, J37. I think I didn't even add anything to 99's part, just this R bass on the bass. And a decapitator. I just wanted more grit. I just wanted to sound like more rough, heavier than the first part. And this lead sound from the Mini Brood, EQ, chorus, Valhalla delay, and vintage verb. And this is basically it for the sample. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned anything, or from this you saw a plugin that you didn't know, or technique, or it inspired you in some way. I really appreciate you if you got to this point, and I hope we'll see each other next week on the next video.